Alright, so here we have two recent releases by BrotherHobby. These ones are the 2207 1750 kV returner R6 and the returner R6 2306 1660 kV. These have been around for a couple of months already. BrotherHobby sent them to me quite a while back. I just haven't had a chance to test them, so I gotta apologize for that. And as usual, BrotherHobby just packages these in these cardboard boxes, nothing fancy. No need for that anyways. These get thrown away, so no issues with that. And usually the motor just come in the boxes like that, and pretty minimal stuff, just a few M3 screws and a lock nut. That's how they both come. So this is the 2306 and this is the 2207. So something particular about these motors is the color scheme. As you can see, is iridescent, so kind of fancy color scheme. I kind of like it. It's different. Probably can't see it too well on the screen due to the artificial lighting. It's got all these different colors depending on how the light hits it. It goes anywhere from yellow to bluish, greenish hue to purple. So pretty cool. And these have the usual design pattern, 5-spoke on the bell cap, as you can see, pretty similar to the other returner motors. So that's pretty standard. Also standard is all the bells and whistles that BrotherHobby puts into their motors. Basically titanium shaft, one-piece shaft, hollow, and a naked bottom, and 7075 aluminum bell cap and base, and 52 arc magnets, single strand wire on the windings, and 0.15 laminations on the stator. Also, this time they went to a larger bearing. Now they're using the 4x9x4 Japanese NMB bearing, so that's good, more durable. So you can see the bolt pattern here on the base is 16x19, so that's kind of different. Most motors are 16x16 these days, but that's alright. The retaining screw for the shaft still is 1.5, I believe. Yeah, 1.5 millimeter, and though they're using a pretty sturdy screw, it's got a deep socket there on the head, so that shouldn't be too difficult to remove, I think, because I can feel the Allen key going in quite a lot, so it should be easy to remove. So let's give it a go here. Yeah, I can feel it turning and it's not slipping, so that's good. Good screw to use. And they're claiming 32 grams of weight on the 2306 with 160 millimeters of wire, though these are about 155. So let's see what it weighs. And this is the 2306. So let's see. And that's 31.7, so 31.9, so pretty good. That's basically what they're claiming. And the 2207, I imagine, is going to be a little bit heavier because the stator is larger, has more mass to it. So let's see what this weighs. 2207 is 32.8, so a gram heavier. That's expected. If we leave the wires at 50 millimeters, I usually get the equivalent because sometimes a lot of the motors have different lengths of wire, so we have to remove that much wire. So we'll tear that. That's about 2.2 grams. Wire is actually pretty heavy, as you can see. 2.2 grams on that wire. 2.3 grams actually. And so the 2306 would be 29.6 with 50 millimeters of wire. That's if you use arm-mounted ESCs, which not that many people use these days. But you know, I always get the equivalent with 50 millimeters of wire just to have all the motors with the same length of wire. And let's see, the 2207 is 30.5. So pretty good weights on these motors. Quite light actually for this size. So as usual, BrotherHobby always tries to make light motors. So these are no exception. So okay, let's take this belt out and we'll have a a closer look under the magnifying glass. Yeah, the shaft retaining screw comes out pretty easily, and yeah, they used just a little bit of thread lock, so that's good. That's why it's not so difficult to remove. And yeah, there's a bronze washer, and let's see how easy it is to pull these apart. Yeah, not too difficult, comes right out. So let's get this on the magnifying glass. So here's the belt for the 2306, and there's the one-piece shaft, titanium, arc magnets as you can see there, and pretty neat. Not a lot of balancing mud right there, so pretty well balanced out from right from the machining. And here's the stator, pretty usual for BrotherHobby. Very neat windings as you can see there, and there's the nice large bearing, 4x9x4 NMB bearings, and very thin laminations. So let's see what the actual height of the stator is. Should be 6 millimeters nominal. That's about right there. A little bit, just a tiny hair taller than 6 millimeters, so pretty much 6 millimeters I think. Okay, and there's the 2207 taken apart. Taller stator and magnets. And here is the stator, so let's get a quick check on the stator height. So there it is. Yeah, pretty much 7 millimeters, just a tiny bit over 7, so 7 for practical purposes, so no surprises there. Same bearing, 4x9x4 NMB bearing, Japanese, so that's good. And overall pretty neat windings, pretty nice construction on the motor as usual from BrotherHobby. Alright, so let's put this back together and let's get some numbers on the thrust stand. And gotta remember to not let the stator slam, so you gotta kind of ease it on, which is kind of hard because those magnets are pretty strong, so you really have to hold on to it pretty well. And there we go. On rare occasions you can damage the magnets, I guess, so why not, just be careful when you put them back together. Put them as slowly as possible. And let's have a look at the air gap on this motor. So as you can see, that's the 2306, fairly tight, and that's the 2307. I don't know if you guys can see the air gap there, but it's also pretty tight, so not overly tight and not that loose, so just right I think. So alright, so we'll put back these retaining screws and get some numbers on the thrust stand. All right, so let's have a quick look at the thrust test results for the BrotherHobby R6 2207 1750 kV. This one came in slightly higher at 1766 kV as measured by my thrust stand. That's pretty close to the advertised kV. Only 16 kV difference on the thrust stand, so that's pretty much on the dot, I think. So based on that kV, I went ahead and tested on 3S, 4S, 5S, and 6S, various props. The usual, starting with the 5-inch very old prop, 5045, always included here because I still get people asking to keep this prop on. It's old, but it gives you an idea, you know, what to expect from a 2-blade 5-inch prop. So it's kind of like a base measurement there. So still kind of decent. 1587 grams at a very reasonable 30 amps on the thrust stand. Always keep in mind that these are burst amp numbers on the thrust stand, so they're gonna be higher on the air. This translates to much lower amperage. So on 6S, you know, I still say 35%, but I have to confirm that. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. So I guess if we do 35 to 30%, we'll be on the safe side. So lower than that. Anyway, so the next props, 5-inch, 3-blade props, as you can see, quite high output right here, 1720 on 6S. Amperage, of course, looks rather low because of the high voltage, but of course when you multiply times the voltage, the output power it's quite high. So I mean that's going to be high power. So the advantage, as everybody knows, the advantage of running 6S is you do get high RPM, but the main advantage that I think attracts people to 6S is that throughout the discharge cycle, the battery is able to maintain its voltage better than a 4S, so you'll see less voltage sag, especially at the end of this, towards the middle and end of the cycle. But then you have to be careful. At the very end, it does drop off pretty quickly, so you gotta keep that in mind. The 5.5-inch, almost approaching 2 kilograms, well, 1900, so that's quite high. And then onto the 6-inch props, over 2 kilograms on 6S for the 6045 and for the 6040, so that's quite high out of this 2207 motor. So I was also able to test 7-inch props, though I still don't know if this small motor is good match for 7-inch, but the numbers seem to work on 4S and maybe even 3S. Response is probably gonna be pretty slow because of the large prop and the small motor, so you know it takes longer time for the motor to wind up. On 5S could be a little bit too much for the motor, but it works on the thrust stand, so I don't know if it's gonna work in the air. So you know, careful when you use that setup. I'd be checking motor temperature often. Anyway, that's the results for this motor. I'll have the next one on the BrotherHobby, the R6. I'll also test the 2306 1660, so lower kV and a little bit smaller stator, so we'll see how that one performs compared to this one. That'll come up in a week or so. All right, so thank you for watching, and until the next video.